What's up guys, Bladen here, and today I'm coming at you with a video on the RET 10.0.7 PTR. I'm so excited for the RET rework. But before we get into the final talent review going into this upcoming patch, I want to thank Blizzard for a sponsored giveaway. They gave me 2 copies of the Viridian Phase Hunter mount to give away for the North American and Oceanic realms. If you are interested in winning this mount, all you have to do is comment below the video, comment your Twitter name, and then follow me on Twitter. That is how I will contact you. It'll make it a little bit easier than trying to interact in the comment section in case you miss your reply on YouTube. I know sometimes replying to YouTube comments is a little gimmicky. So once again, follow me on Twitter, leave your Twitter name in the comments, and I will contact you. And thank you again to Blizzard. All right, let's get into the video. All right, so I know there's been a little bit of controversy the past 2 weeks or so with the RET rework on the PTR. Whether you're concerned about mobility, survivability, healing, whatever, I come to you to tell you that this is a huge positive from what we have on retail. No matter how disappointing we might be about not getting some form of additional mobility, what we have gotten in return is still really, really good. And the number one strongest thing I think to take away from this rework is that we are now tanky. We are actually kind of tanky. Yes. I don't remember a time in Ret's history where I felt this tanky, and it's very satisfying. I love it. The fact that we have a 30% wall usable in stuns, in addition to Shield of Vengeance, both on a minute cooldown, is amazing. We have the options for taking Emblem to increase Shield of Vengeance even further on a 2-minute cooldown. And then in addition to that, we have Bubble plus Spell Warding. Now, I will not believe that this is going live until I see it tomorrow. I still don't believe it. I saw somewhere on Twitter that they were taking Spell Warding away. However, this is the night before the patch. It is still on the PTR realms. We still have Blessing of Spell Warding. There's been a number of adjustments to PvP talents here. As you can see, like Law and Order, Unbound Freedom, they don't exist here. Jurisdiction, not here anymore. Punish, what it was punish something about Double Judgment is not here anymore. That talent that made if we judge the target twice, it would generate 3 holy power on that. That is no longer here. But we still have Spell Warding and we still have Spreading the Word. The build that I want to talk about here revolves around Justicar Vengeance or Final Verdict, whichever one you choose. And I do think JV is still going to be good. So during the PTR cycle, they did change JV around to function a little bit differently than live. So it no longer heals based on damage dealt, but it heals a flat 6% of your HP mitigated by Mortal Strike effects. What this means is that we can actually heal with JV into damage mitigators and shields, which currently does not work like that. It does not work like that on live. And they reduce the burst damage that JV does into stuns by 25%. JV still hits pretty hard, and it got a range increase to 8 yards. Final Verdict, on the other hand, excuse me, it now is a 20-yard range and has a 15% chance to proc the Hammer Wrath, usable on any target, regardless of HP. Final Verdict has a really good synergy with Vengeful Wrath, and Vanguard of Justice has really good synergy with both these talents and Divine Purpose. Now, I played all of PTR when Vengeful Wrath came out playing with this, and I kind of left Divine Purpose alone because they nerfed it to 10% proc chance. In last build, it was actually only increasing damage by 3%, so looks like they reverted it back to 10%. So we're 10 and 10 again, rather than 15 and 15. This is okay, but because this stacks with Vanguard of Justice, increasing our Holy Power ability spenders requirements to 4 Holy Power, it can provide for some pretty insane burst. Now, Vanguard of Justice got nerfed again from 25 to 20%. I was kind of expecting this. I still think it's really strong. If it gets nerfed any more than 20%, I'm not even going to consider playing it, I don't think. But going into week 1, this is my setup build here. So I run Templar Strikes, which actually what I've noticed is they nerfed Templar Strikes as well. So now it has a significantly longer cooldown. The base cooldown is 10 seconds, which I adjusted by going Swift Justice here, which reduces Judgment and Crusader Strike by 2 seconds. And and Judgment is dropped by an additional second with Seal of Alacrity. I possibly am going to be going Art of War when playing JV, just because I'm going to be playing in melee range a little bit more than I would if I was attempting to play a Final Verdict build. And that is just because, you know, there's a little bit different. So, like, if you are playing Final Verdict, you're probably going to be hitting into ranged damage dealers, which you might not be able to melee. But with Crusader's Reprieve right here, your Crusader Strike, Rebuke, and auto attacks are increased by 3 yards, and using Crusader Strike heals you for 2% of your max HP. So this, giving auto attacks a little bit additional range, is actually kind of valuable when you're staying in melee range. Now I want to talk about Blade of Justice a little bit. So Blade of Justice received the most changes throughout the PTR cycle, only to end up pretty meh. And what I mean by that is, originally these two talents, Holy Blade and Improved Blade of Justice, were on separate tiers. A few builds ago, they combined them. So now Blade of Justice is only generating 1 additional Holy Power if you take Holy Blade, but then you can't take 2 charges of Blade of Justice. And it's missing out on a bunch of damage modifiers that we had before when it was Holy Strike damage. So Blade of Justice has gone from physical to Holy Strike to physical to holy. So now it scales off of our mastery along with, I believe, expurgation here. Radiant damage is fire/holy damage. So that scales with Burning Crusade increase here. In addition to penitence. And I believe it scales half with our mastery. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. Under my, I presumed it was like a lesser scaling of mastery, but I'm not entirely sure. I will test this out later, but honestly, expurgation is also an insignificant amount of our damage now, which is a little unfortunate. It's a larger portion of damage than the exorcism dot on live, but nothing compared to the 20 to 40 to 60k ticks that we could get with expurgation earlier on in the PTR. Now it's just a kind of, it's attached to Blade of Justice. And cool, maybe we can stop rogues from re-stealthing pretty consistently now. It's actually really nice, if I'm being honest. It is nice, but it's no longer super OP damage, so it feels bad, man. Penitence got nerfed, so it is now 10%. I am currently not taking it. There are better talents that we can take than penitence. 10% of like, I believe it's like 3 or 4% of our damage with expurgation is very low. The only reason I would take penitence is, and I have not verified this, but people have said that it affects execution sentence. I will test this further on in the week, and if it does, I will take penitence instead of something over here. I'll get back to you all. Truce Wake got nerfed as well, and I really don't think like 10% additional damage on Truce Wake and expurgation is worth penitence. It is what it is. I'd rather actually take Truce Wake than take penitence. I believe that was my choice node between these two when it got down to it. So Divine Arbiter. This is something I want to talk about going forward. Divine Arbiter hits pretty freaking hard. It still hits really hard. We proc it by spamming our Crusader Strike and our Justicar Vengeance or Final Verdict. They both deal Holy Strike damage with Blades of Light. Judgment and Hammer of Wrath also add charges to the Divine Arbiter count here. So at 25 stacks, that is when I would pop some burst. Now, what's really odd is I'm not entirely sure the secondary effect hits the primary target. I don't think it does. Like some other awkward splash damage effects. So it's not like Seething Flames. It is only the big hit, the 52k, which is realistically, actually, it's like, with all cooldowns rolling, it's like 80k. It hits pretty hard. So yeah, it's an additional 80k single target. Back to the Paladin tree here. There are various ways that we could go about speccing into the utility here. I have foregone Improved Bop, and honestly, I'm probably going to end up running Sacrifice the Just rather than Selfless Healer, or I'm sorry, Healing Hands, because of how weak Healing Hands is here. It is nerfed in PvP by 50%. But because we have the Light Celerity, I'm not too concerned about how Ret's off healing is going to be. Actually, if anything, it's guaranteed to be better because now we have a healing ability to push consistently, and we're not really going to ourselves, right? Because we can't spam Flash of Light anymore, so we don't worry too much about mana. Templar Strike, it does cost mana, but because of the increased cooldown on it, we can't ourselves. We just can't. It doesn't happen. At least not in PvP. But I would potentially swap Healing Hands to Sacrifice the Just or Recompense. On a side note, while I'm thinking about it, Recompense was nerfed to no longer be able to be crit. It sucks. It is what it is. Gimmick one-shots are stupid, though, so I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is Lay on Hands getting nerfed even further in PvP. So now it's going to be a max of 50% of your HP rather than 70% of your HP, affected by Dampening and Mortal Strike, which essentially makes Lay on Hands completely useless. I wish we could take this talent point and, honestly, I might. But I might need Cleanse sometimes, so we'll see. It could be entirely useless, especially on a 7-minute cooldown. And if we don't take Healing Hands, if you're not taking Healing Hands, honestly, I might not even take Lay on Hands. It's so bad. It is so horribly bad, and it's already horribly bad without being nerfed. So it is what it is. I don't find it necessary to pick up either Lightforged Blessing or Punishment. I will test out Punishment a little bit more when we get into actual arenas, but I don't know. I don't foresee Lightforged Blessing being that beneficial because we're not pushing Divine Storm really. We're only using Divine Storm when it procs off of our Empyrean Legacy here. On a side note, Blade of Vengeance. This could still be useful in RBGs for spreading around expurgations. It might be good. It's going to require more testing. And what I'm here today to show you guys is the baseline of what I'm thinking of crafting my talents around. It's going to look something like this here. They did nerf execution sentence on players by about 35%. And I think that's fair because it was hitting for about 180k without much setup on a 30-second cooldown. So because this is on a 30-second cooldown, I find it perfectly acceptable to nerf it by about that much. But I think both these talents are going to be viable. Final Reckoning lasting for a large amount of time, plus the fact that we have Vanguard of Justice. Just these two talents increasing our spenders by 50% is pretty nutty. On top of that, we can always get the 10% increase on Divine Purpose. And then we have Wings. And then we have Inquisitor's Ire. And then we have the double High Lord's Judgment. And then we have, the Empyrean Legacy. So we can hit some absolutely insane one-shots right now. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean here. So we're going to go ahead and get full stacks of Blessing of Dawn. Right here. 2 stacks of Blessing of Dawn. I'm going to stun, Wings, Final Rec, JV. Look at that right there. That was nuts. We just crit a 283k JV and a 150k Divine Storm. This burst is burstier than what we have on live. It's nuts. I think this build is This is why I think this build is going to be so good. And I didn't even push Divine Toll or Wake of Ashes, both of which still hit pretty hard. Um, we are also stacking up our Blessing of Dusk shield. So, to my understanding of the way that Blessing of Dusk works, is that you can stack up an Absorb shield up to 30% of your HP. While you're actively fighting in combat, you're never going to see it stack up to 30% HP. But I have not been able to get my shield higher than about 30% of my HP here. So you're getting shields from Blessing of Dusk. You're getting a little bit of healing from JV. You're getting a little bit of healing from your Crusader's Reprieves attached to your Templar Strikes. You're getting a little bit of healing. Not a little bit. You're getting a decent chunk of healing from your Light Celerity. On top of that, you can go Leech Enchants to make everything heal you. RET is going to be pretty tanky. And then, on top of all of that, we have our defensive cooldowns. Granted, a lot of self-healing nowadays is fairly weak because of the way that dampening currently works in the meta. In this expansion, dampening ramps up quicker, so hybrid healing classes like RET, like Enhanced Shaman, have kind of suffered defensive-wise when they relied on healing. But now, at the bare minimum, we don't have to sacrifice Holy Power to get some healing now. Now it's more of passive throughout our damage or active throughout a Light Celerity empowered Flash of Light, something like that. It's not like we're sacrificing 3 Holy Power for a Word of Glory and then not pressing Templar's Verdict, which obviously we still can do. It's just not going to be as strong as it was in Shadowlands. Or even it pains me to say this, or even as strong as it is in this past patch because of Healing Hands being nerfed, even though it wasn't already good. But, guys, before anyone panics about that, I promise you our healing is 10 times better than live. It is 10 times better than live. Like, there are duels where I don't even have to push a Word of Glory because, I'm healing through JV, Fading Light, Crusader's Reprieve, and Light Celerity here. And then in between those, like, moments that I really can't handle the spike damage, then I push a Shield of Vengeance or a Divine Protection. So it's looking up, guys. I think just to turn back on the the whole downside of the mobility, it is what it is. It sucks, man. I know. I really wanted something cool, something new, or even, something old. And technically we did get Judgment of Justice, which is a slow on the target. It's only 30% slow, but it's pretty much going to be full uptime because we have a 7.6 second cooldown on Judgment, and then the slow lasts for 8 seconds. And then we get a 10% move speed increase, which we can stack with the move speed increase from Unbound Freedom and Abdurcy, and potentially Speed Enchants. I've yet to test out Speed Enchants with Abdurcy and Judgment of Justice, but we do have the potential to move fairly quickly baseline. Unfortunately, Unbound Freedom is now dispellable, and there's no dispel protection. So that is going to take some getting used to. However, personally, I did not really play Unbound Freedom too much in Dragonflight. I didn't have the room for it. I didn't have the space because our DPS talents were so strong. And to counter the fact that Freedom can now be purged, we now have insane range on our Final Verdict and our Blade of Justice whenever we go against teams that we cannot actually reach. Like, for example, right about here. I can Blade of Justice target from all the way over here. Pretty nice. And then, obviously, Final Verdict, you can take this, and then you're using your spenders from range. In addition to this, we have specific builds that we can use into probably, in my opinion, mages. I'm not so sure about warlocks because, yes, they can kite and get away, but eventually you can catch up to warlocks for some uptime. But Vengeful Wrath could be really good in hunters and mages because Hammer of Wrath is critting for about 60, 65k, and Wings is only on a minute cooldown. So we have access to guaranteed crits on Hammer of Wrath, big range damage, quite frequently. And then on top of that, we'll have Final Verdict too. So, guys, I think this rework is, I give it an A. On a scale of like S tier to D tier, I give the rework, an A+. I think they did a great job on the rework. It is more than I had hoped for because I didn't go into the rework hoping for too much. And it is 1000% addressed survivability issues. Our damage rotation is still, it's kind of similar, but kind of different from retail. So I give that, I give the damage portion probably a B. I would have given the damage portion an S tier 2 or 3 builds ago when it was revolving around our spenders doing the majority of our damage. But when they transitioned back to our finishers being, 30-40% of our damage, then it's like, it's okay. So like, yeah, around a B. And then healing, our off healing is probably not going to be as strong as it was in Shadowlands, but it's going to be better than what it was this past season, or actually, I guess during the current season. So that's great. And then mobility, technically, it is a downgrade into certain comps. Only certain comps. Into some other comps, it is an upgrade. Keep in mind, we can have 12 seconds of Divine Steed up. That's really long. That's like, let's see. We'll make it all the way over here. So that's pretty long. And I didn't even efficiently run. But compare that to the 3-second single charge of Steed that I currently run on live. That's better. And it's off global. Cool. And we have a permanent 30% slow. Cool. I don't even play with a slow on live. So that is a bonus to me. I don't know about you guys. Anyone play Hand of Hindrance? It's garbage. It doesn't matter if it's a 70% slow. Everyone has a slow removal. It has a 30-second cooldown. It was trash. You did not take it at all in retail. I'll take Greater Judgment of Justice slow any day of the week over Hand of Hindrance. And then we have a couple other tools that I have not addressed too much over here because I think a lot of them are PvE related. But some of them could be good. Like Consecrated Ground, we still have the Consecrated Ground slow, and then Divine Hammer is kind of interesting, but the slow with Consecrated Ground combined with Divine Hammer is reduced to 25%. I'm sorry, 30%. So it's equivalent of the Judgment of Justice. So yeah, we'll see. Anyways, plenty of builds going into this next week. I'm very much looking forward to it. If you all are curious, this is what I'm going to start out with here in terms of what build I'm running. Actually, specifically, if I want to adjust my PvP talents, I'm probably not going to run Lawbringer anymore at a 4%. So this last talent here is going to be utility related. Potentially, I could take Hallowed Ground or Judge of Fear, depending on the comp. So our DPS talents kind of suck now. And, oh yeah, Luminescence. Duh. So you can have full uptime on Luminescence by just doing your DPS rotation as long as you're taking damage, because Crusader's Reprieve procs it from your Templar Strikes. You can also heal yourself with a Word of Glory or a Flash of Light and proc it as long as you're missing HP. But if you're not, and you're just taking a little bit of tickle damage, Crusader's Reprieve will give you and your partners full uptime on Luminescence, which is excellent. It's awesome. All right, guys. That is about it for me today. I apologize for the way my voice sounds. I have a wicked sore throat. Almost didn't record this video today, but I needed to get it out there before the patch tomorrow, and to make sure you all have an opportunity to take part in that giveaway. I apologize for being away for 8 days or so. I've been really busy with work, and I've been trying to take a WoW break because I know with this rework, I'm going to want to binge WoW as much as I can. So we have that to look forward to. All right, guys. I will see you all next time. Peace.